Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your channel of Math and Engineering Made Easy. In today's session, I will go over, or I will start going over a Regents exam for Algebra 1 in New York State. So the one I have today is from January 22nd of last year. You know, it's a 3-hour test. Excuse me. And it has 4 parts. You are allowed to have a graphing calculator and a straight edge. And we will start, probably I'll try to finish part 1, which is like 24 questions, it says, and see if we can do the rest later. Okay, I'm going to use, I think, I will see if I will use extra papers or I use the answer here. So let's start with the first question. It says, when factored, the expression x cubed minus 36x is equivalent to what? So we see that we have x in both terms, so we will factor out the x. That would leave the x cubed, it will become x squared, and then I have a negative sign, and then 36x would be 36. You should recognize the 36, of course, as a perfect square, 6 squared. So we can break it down or factor it as x minus 6 times x plus 6 or x plus 6 times x minus 6. It doesn't matter. And we will see that this is number 3, right? 3 times x plus 6 times x minus 6. Of course, they have the 18, which is half of 36. That is wrong. And of course, here the x that we factored in the beginning is not there. So question number 2, which equation represents the line that passes through the points -1 and 8, 4 and -2? You already know the equation of the slope, right? First of all, you know that we write y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. And the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So we say m equals, we write the change in y. It doesn't matter where you start, but if you start with this point, then you have to start for both x and y as this is the point. So for example, I can say 8 minus -2 over -1 minus 4, or I can say -2 minus 8 over 4 minus -1. It doesn't matter. You will get the same result. So if we start with the first point and say 8 minus, and then I have a -2 over -1 minus 4. You see that negative times negative is positive, so the top is 8 plus 2 or 10. The bottom is -5, so the answer is -2. Well, since we already know the slope, we can pick any of these points. So let's say I pick the second point. I can say y, and so we do the slope point equation, y minus y0, which is -2, equals m, which is -2, times x minus x0. If I use this, I have to use the corresponding x. If I had said 8 here, y minus 8, I would have used here x minus -1. It doesn't matter which point you pick, you will end up with the same result. Excuse me. So I get y plus 2 equals, and then you distribute the -2. -2 times x is -2x, and -2 times -4 is +8. And finally, you will subtract 2 from both sides because you want all the equations are y. Y equals -2x. 8 minus 2 is +6. So that's number 1. Okay? When we move to the next problem, it tells you it's a geometric sequence. Since it's a geometric sequence, you need to find r. So you can pick any two. I mean, why would I use one with a fraction? I can use the 2 and the 8, and I know that r equals 8 over 2, which is 4. So they ask you what is the common ratio? It's 4. It doesn't take any time. I could have used 32 divided by 8 is also 4. The multiplier here, r, is 4. That rate is 4. Here they ask you, what is the constant term of the polynomial? Notice they don't have to give you the polynomial in the standard form. Like you start with the degree, which is the highest power, then the one next to it, lower and lower and lowest. Now, they can write them in any way. But the term that we call the constant, notice that x is a variable, meaning x changes. But what doesn't change? Any term here that doesn't have x. This one is multiplied by x squared, this one multiplied by x cubed, this one has an x. Only the 5 is a constant, so the constant is 5. And sure, of course, these two problems shouldn't take few seconds, right? Now let's move to number 5. Okay. It says a landscaping company charges a set fee for a spring cleanup plus an hourly labor rate. Always when you have something constant and something changing, think straight line. Meaning, you see here, they give you the total cost. You see that this is an equation of a straight line that has a slope of 55 and a y-intercept of 80. What's the meaning of y-intercept? Yes, when the line crosses the y-axis. And what is the value of x when it crosses the y-axis? 0. So the guy or the company sent somebody, haven't started yet. X, the number of hours is 0. He didn't do anything. But he charges you $80. So that's the set fee. X is the number of hours. So what would be the 55? Yes, it's the hourly rate. So if they ask me, what is the set fee? I say 80. How much do they charge per hour? I say 55. It's a straight line equation. Okay, in this function, what does the 55 represent? We just said it, right? 55 is the hourly rate that the company charges. Is it the set fee? No, the set fee is 80. The hourly labor rate? Yes, it is. I don't need to read the next two. Don't waste your time. If you are confident, you pick the correct answer. The profit, they didn't give me any cost for them, so I don't know the profit. I don't know how much they pay the guy or how much they pay for transportation. All of these would be subtracted from what they get from you, and the rest is profit. No clue. The number of hours? No, the number of hours is X because it's changing, right? It's not 55. They will not work 55 hours at every customer's house, right? So anyway, once you find the correct answer, we can start. Let's find the next one, number 6. Which expression is equivalent to this minus that? Well, very simple subtraction. Let's look at the x squared coefficient. 5 minus 3 is 2x squared. For the x, negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. So negative 5x. 4 minus negative 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Positive 5, which is 4. No, I'm sorry. It's 2. 2x squared minus 5x. This one is 4. I didn't see 2x to the 4. Number 7. A system of inequalities is graphed on the set of axes below. Be careful. Usually when they give you one solid line and one dotted line, they will trick you. For example, here, what is the first? The first is 1 and 1. 1 and 1 is here. And many would see it as the first point, and they say, okay, here is the answer. No, it's not the answer. Why isn't it? Because this dotted line means that this point doesn't belong to this line. It belongs to this one, but it's not an intersection. So I don't fall for that. How about 2 and negative 2? Oh, again, same thing. It's on this line. Exactly on the line. So I cannot take it. 1 and 8. No, that's not in the region. And that leaves you the last one, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Definitely this point is within the region, so it is a solution. So be careful. They give us 2 points that are on the dotted line, meaning they are not inside the region. If this was like one, instead of 1 and 1, if it were like 2 and 2, yes, it would be inside, but 1 and 1 is not. Number 8. In an arithmetic sequence, unlike the geometric sequence, changes by the same value, the step is constant. There, the multiplication is constant. We multiplied by 4. Here we add 2 or 3 or -1, whatever. The first term is 25, and the third is 15. So the second must be exactly between them, in the middle. What's exactly midway between 25 and 15? It's 20, right? You can use the equation and solve two equations. It doesn't make sense, right? I would stop and say, well, the middle point is 20, meaning I decrease by 5 every time. Going from 1 to 2, I dropped 5. From 2 to 3, I drop 5. And they ask you, what is the 10th term? Well, I'm going to, for the second, this is the first. For the second, I drop 5. So by the time I reach the 10th, I drop 5 times 9, right? From 1 to 2 is 1, from 2 to 3 is 2, so from 9 to 10 would be 9. The first number is 25, and then you subtract 5 times 9. It's 25 minus 45. It's -20. Number 1. Okay? From 1 to 9, we have 9 drops of 5. When the formula P equals 2L plus 2W is solved for W, I want to find the value of W. So like any equation, I want to get rid of this term. So I'm going to subtract 2L and 2L. And that tells me P minus 2L equals 2W. But I only just want W. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2 and get W is P minus 2L over 2, which is number 2. Okay. Market Street Pizza kept a record of pizza sales for the month of February. The results are shown in the table below. Well, they didn't tell us how many. So if they ask about probabilities, I have, or percents, I have to add all of them. So you have your calculator, but I don't need it. I have 500, 605, 710, 830, 900, 1,000. Of all the pizzas sold in February, what percent were plain deep dish? So the intersection of that is 200, and 200 out of 1,000 is 20%, right? So it's 1. When solving -2 times this equal that for x, the solution is what? Let's do it. Left-hand side, I'm going to distribute the -2. So I get -6x plus 10. The right-hand side doesn't have anything to distribute. Then I'm going to move the x's, say, to the left and the constants to the right. Or I do the opposite if I want them to be positive numbers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So first, I'm going to subtract 9/2 x. And then I want to move the 10 here. So I'm going to subtract 10. -6 can be written as -12 over 2. And -9 over 2, this is -21 over 2x. And the right-hand side is -12. Notice that when you get negative in both sides, you can multiply both sides by -1 and make them 21/2 x equals 12. And then I'm going to divide by 21 halves. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. So I multiply by 2 over 21, multiply by 2 over 21. Right? So when you multiply that, they cancel each other and you get x. And 12 times 2 is 24 over 21. I don't see any 24 over 21. Why? Because both of these numbers are divisible by 3. So I can simplify by 3. 24 over 3 is 8. 21 over 3 is 7. 8 over 7 is also number 1. Be careful. Don't say this, maybe I made a mistake, but it has a 21. No, we don't do that. If you are confident you did it correctly, then the only other possibility is that the numbers, and that's why it's important when you look at a number, you know what it divides by. You should know that divisibility by 2. In fact, I have a whole session that tells you how to find divisibility by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, any number, pretty much. Okay, but at least the ones that are important, I check them, but these are easy. Alrighty, the expression x to the 2a plus b is equivalent to what? Well, we know that the addition in the exponent meaning a multiplication of two exponents, right? So when it says plus or plus, I simply ignore them. It's one of these two. Let's do the top. X to the a times x to the a plus b. It means it equals x, and then I add the exponent. A plus a is 2a plus b plus b. Yes, it is 3. And if it were, I can check this one also. This is x to the a plus b plus a plus b. So 2a plus 2b. But here I don't have a 2b. If it were 2b, I would have selected 4. Okay, number 13. The inputs and outputs of a function are shown in the table below. The function can best be described as what? Linear, quadratic, exponential, or absolute value. Well, if it's linear, it should increase by the same amount. Notice here, I'm going to ignore the fractions. From 3 to 4, it increased by 1/2, but from 4 to 5, it increased by 1. So it's not linear. Is it quadratic? No. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. So in order to get that, I divide by 8. If I want to get 9 to get 1/2, I divide by 18. 16, I have to divide by 16. I'm not dividing by the same amount. Absolute value is when you have positive and negative. I don't have here that. Definitely it's exponential. How do I know? I divide any two numbers, like the second by the first or the fourth by the third. In this case, I divide the fifth by the fourth, of course. 2 over 1 is 2. 1 over 1/2 is 2. A half by a quarter is 2. So definitely it is exponential, and it's 2 to the x times something, of course, because that's not 1. Okay, Stephanie is solving the equation x squared minus 12 equals 7x minus 8. Her first step is shown below. What did she do? You can see that the x squared stayed, the 7x stayed. So what happened? She moved the -8 to the left-hand side. So what did she do? Associative property, commutative property, distributive property, or addition property of equality? Yes, of course, it is addition property of equality. I have an equality, and I added 8 to both sides, and we call that the addition property of equality, meaning I add the same amount. Think of the equality sign as if you have a scale. You say this quantity equal that quantity. So if I add, let's say these are in pounds. If I add 8 pounds to the right, oops, no, I have to add 8 pounds to the left to make them still equal. Okay? So that's it. What is the sum of 8 root 3 and root 3? Well, you are, guys, I've seen students have trouble with that. This is the easiest thing in the world. Instead of root 3, square root of 3, think of x, for example. 9x and x, 8x and x is 9x. 8 tens and a 10 are 9 tens, right? 80 plus 10 is 90. Anything. So 8 root 3 plus root 3 would be 9 root 3, which is number 4. That shouldn't take you a second. Unless they have a trick and you know, this number is not root 3, maybe it's a root 12 that you have to factor as 2 root 3 or something, but this one is plain straightforward. The dot plots below represent test scores for 20 students on a math test. So they tell you the mode for this math is 80. What is the mode? Yes, the value that occurs the most. So I can ignore 2 and 4 because here the quantity is 85 and here the highest quantity is 85. So it wants of these two. And the median is 85 without calculation. You see that this thing is symmetric. I have 2 on the right, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, 2 on the left, 1 on the right, 1 on the left. They are equidistant. When you have a symmetric distribution like that, if it's symmetric, you have to understand that the mean equals the median equals the mode. All three would be equal to each other. So here the median is also 80. So that leaves the left-hand side. Of course, you can do the math, use your calculator, add, try to find the median. There are 20 points, so you can see it's the average of the 10th and the 11th point, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 10 and 11 are both 85, so their average is 85. But you don't need to do that since you excluded that, and you saw just by looking, oh, the mean equals the mode equals the median, so it has to be number 1. A function is graphed on a set of axes below. They want the domain of x. Do you know the domain of the function is the possible values of x? Here, x starts at -2, but -2 is not included. So x doesn't equal -2. On the right-hand side, it goes till infinity, right? So, in fact, it's number 1. X such that x is greater, meaning to the right of -2. That is. This one includes, so if that was a dot, I would pick number 2. But if it's a hole like that, we call that a hole, by the way. Okay, if it's open circle, meaning I don't have equal, and you should know that. These are -4 and -4. Well, in fact, technically they didn't tell me if this is 1, 2, 3, 4 or a different scale. Maybe it was 2 and 2, and that would have been the correct answer. But usually when they don't tell you, they mean it's 1, but they should have been more clear than that. They should have said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you know that each square is only 1 unit, not 2, or else, as I said, this could be a correct answer. All righty, almost 2/3. Which ordered pair is a solution to the equation that? So we want to solve this equation. Again, the left-hand side, and then I'm going to distribute the 2, so I get 2x, and 2 over 4 is 1/2. Okay? And then I can add 1 to both sides just to get it like an equation of a straight line. You don't have to, but this would be 2x plus 3/2. 1 and 1/2. Okay, and then we try. If x is 0, that would be 2 times 0 is, I'm sorry, if x is 0.75, this would be 2 times 0.75, which is 1.5, plus 1.5 is 3. No, it's not 3. 2 times 1.25 is 2.5, plus 6, I'm sorry, plus 1.5. Yeah, 2.5 plus 1.5 is 4, so this is the correct answer. Of course, you have a calculator, you'll do that. Those, you can exclude them because x is positive and you are adding something to it. How can you get a negative answer? It's impossible. So you can exclude this from the get-go and just compare these two. And again, how can you get 0 if you are adding two positive values? So really, if I just thought about it for 5 seconds, I would say, oh, it has to be 2. Once I come up with the equation. Elena's fastest time for the 50-meter dash is 7 seconds. She wants to know how fast this is in inches per minute. Okay. Now, the easiest way to transform, to convert units, if you say 50 we want it in inch per minute. This is 50 meter per 7 seconds. So how do I get rid of the meter? Like if this was x, how do you get rid of it? It's in the numerator, so you have to divide by x. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide by by meter and multiply by inch. But 1 meter is not 1 inch, right? 1 meter is 39.37 inches. So now it's like I multiplied by 1. I have a second. I want to get rid of it. It's in the denominator, so I multiply on the top by a second, and I multiply bottom by a minute. But 1 minute is not 1 second. 1 minute is 60 seconds. So now what looks like that? I have, these are 7 over 50, so I ignore them. 50 over 7, 60 over 1, but here it's backwards because now I have meter times meter, which doesn't make sense. I have to get rid of them. So definitely it's 4. 50 over 7 times 60 over 1 times 37 over 1, so it's number 4. Notice here, the meter and the meter cancel. The second and the second cancel, and you get it inches per minute. Inches per minute. It's really, once you know how much a minute is in terms of a second, then you see which one you want to get rid of it. If the minute or if the second is in the numerator, you put it in the denominator. If it is in the denominator, you put it in the numerator. And then you bring the unit you want and find the relation between them. Everybody knows that a minute is 60 seconds. You write 1 minute here and 60 seconds because now you are multiplying by 1. You are not changing the quantity. Okay, number 20. The table below shows the highest temperatures recorded in August for several years in one town. The interquartile range, okay, here they tell you the interquartile range, meaning I have to arrange the data first. If they ask me about the median or any percentile or quantile, like upper quantile or the 75th percentile, the third quartile or the first, I have to arrange the data. So I can see I have two numbers in the 70s, 77, 78. Then when I go to the 80s, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 81 is the smallest. Then I have 8, 4, and 6. So 84, 86, 88. And finally, I have 2 in the 90s, 93, 95. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I divide them 4 by 4, this would be the median, which is 85. They didn't ask me about the median. They want the distance between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. Well, the upper quartile is the median of the top half. I have 4 data points, so the median is between the second and the third. These are differ by 3, meaning half of that is 1.5. 78 plus 1.5 is 79.5, or 81 minus 1.5 is also 79.5. Here, the difference is 5. So you add 2.5 or you subtract 2.5, you get 90.5. That's the first quartile, that's the third quartile. If you subtract this from that, notice the half and the half cancel, and you get 90 minus 79, which is 11. 11 is the interquartile. Of course, you can use the calculator and it will give you, does it give you the quartiles? I'm not sure, probably. Okay, the function f of x equals x squared, we know that's a parabola, is multiplied by k, and k is less than -1. What do you know instantly when they tell you that? You learn 2 things. First of all, if it's negative, then the parabola is open down. I can exclude 1 and 2. I'm just going to look at these 2. And k is less than -1, meaning negative, and then the number is greater than 1, 2 or 3 or 4. What does that mean? It means that your y is dilated. So, for example, if you look at this one, you see that this one is more dilated, but you cannot just say that, right? You can see that when I move 1 to the right, I drop 2. And then when I move 1 to the right again, I dropped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It gets very squeezed. Here, if I take 1, I drop less than 1, maybe 1/2. Then I go 1, I dropped 1. And then 1, I drop 2, double. But here it's much larger. So it has to be 4. Because k here is greater than 1, meaning either you can think of it as the x has been shrunk or the y has been stretched. When you go to 22, which graph is the solution to this inequality? Okay, first of all, I can subtract 6.4 from both sides. So I get -4x is greater than or equal. And when you add these, you get 2 and you carry over 1, 9.2. Then you are going to divide by -4. But what happens when you divide by a negative number? Your inequality changes. Excuse me, I have a cold and I hope. So I'm going to divide by -4 and at the same time change the size or the direction of the inequality. This would be negative, of course, because positive over negative. And if you divide this, half of that is 4.6 and half of that is 2.3. X is less than or equal to 2.3. So it cannot be these two because these are greater. Here they are less, but the 2.3 is included. Remember, before it was less than whatever, -2 or whatever. So we couldn't, we picked the one with the open circle. Here we pick the one with the closed circle because there is an equality sign. So it's number 4 again. So here 4 and here 4. Then we move to the last 2 questions. Oh, we are almost 40 minutes, so I think that's good enough. We can stop after that. The number of fish in a pond is 8 more than the number of frogs. So if we say by the way, sometimes when I see students working, And maybe because they want to save time, they say, for example, let f, well, both of them are f. So let's call this x and this y. So they tell you, let x be fish and y be frogs. No, that doesn't make any sense. X is not a fish. X is the number. Let x be the number of fish and y be the number of frogs. Why? Because after that, if we have a cost, I sell this by that, some students get confused because they said, that's a fish. What does that mean? The price of a fish, the color of a fish, the number of a fish, the weight of a fish, we don't know. So it's better to be specific. So when you read it, you understand what you are doing. Please it doesn't take 2 seconds to write, more explicitly what X and Y mean. And for somebody else to read it, they need to understand. So when you become like a mathematician or an engineer or a scientist, you have to be very careful when you write. I want somebody to understand what I'm writing. And if there are units, I have to include the units and so on and so forth. So I see a lot ignore these. So they tell you there is 8 more fish than frogs. So fish is x. X is greater than y. So x minus y equals 9, for example. 8. Why do they say 9? It says 8. The number of fish x is 8 more. So I can say equals y plus 8. 8 more than frogs. Or you bring the y to the other side. So it becomes that. Anyway. The total number of fish and frogs is at least 20, meaning x plus y, at least meaning greater than or equal to 20, at least. So they can be 20 or more, but they cannot be less. Let's say here, they write everything in terms of x. So let's see what y equals. So in the top equation, I'm going to move the y to this side, and I say y equals x minus 8. This is the first equation. And then here, I have x plus y is greater than 20. So they tell you if x represents the number of frogs, which, oh my God, the number of frogs. I'm sorry, I should have read that. Okay, let's this be y and this be x. I'm sorry, guys. Y equals x plus 8 because the fish is more. So you don't even need the y. You can say the fish and the frogs. The frogs are x, and this is x plus 8. Yeah, that's much easier. Okay, the total number of fish and frogs is x plus 8, meaning 2x plus 8. They tell you it has to be at least 20, meaning 20 or more. They cannot be less. 2x plus 8 is greater than 20, which is number 2. Oh, I should have read it. I'm sorry. Which graph below represents a function that is always decreasing over the entire interval from -3 to 8? Well, this one is increasing. This one is increasing, then decreasing. This one is always increasing. Oh, they want a decrease. This one is always increasing, so it must be this one. It's decreasing on the first part and decreasing also in the second part, so it is 4. The other two, sometimes they go up. Once they go up, you stop. Go up, stop. Go up, stop. So it has to be this one even. But you can see it's decreasing all the way. Alrighty, so that's the end of the first part. I think it was easy. If you find something that wasn't explained properly, please let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Even if I can redo part of the video, it's whatever you want. If not, then next time we'll be moving to the 6 questions of part 2. And if it's not going to take time, maybe we'll do part 3 also. We'll finish this test and then see if there is anything in the course that you want me to review with you before the Regents exam. You just let me know and I'll go over it with you. Thank you very much and have a great time.